Dice Tower Tonight, episode 109.
Gathering games.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, just in time for holiday gatherings, we discuss games that are great to bring for those non-hobbyists in the family. Also, Crystal is on deck to play a game with me and the chat. We talk about some recent play sessions, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the mariner to my Boimler, it's Crystal Dax.
Oh my gosh, yay, love the Lower Decks reference. That's super sweet.
Yes. So I want to hear about where you were last week, Crystal.
Yes, so to our audience, my apologies for missing the show. Y'all know that that's not a thing that I typically do. I think that might have been like the second episode I've missed since I started doing the show. It's something rare for me, but I was invited to the virtual premiere of Star Trek Discovery Season 4, and it happened to be last Wednesday evening, and it started about an hour and a half before our usual showtime, and it lasted about 3 hours. And I found out the day before, so I had to frantically message Eric and be like,
Yes.
I'm so sorry, but I'm ditching you.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a question. It wasn't may I ditch you. It was I won't be there.
Yeah, I don't, and that's, obviously most things I can do another time. This was an opportunity that I could not pass up. We got to see episodes 1 and 2 of season 4, and Sonequa Martin Green was on the live stream. Alex Kurtzman was on the live stream, and a whole bunch of other really talented people. And they sent us through Starfleet Academy. Like, they actually had classes, which sounds boring, but it was obviously very cool.
Wow.
So I was very, very, very grateful that Ellen stepped in for me. And I was able to catch the show after the fact, and it looked like you all had a lot of fun.
We did. It was a lovely time. Ellen, I think, had a good time. She was still smiling when it was over, so that was that was always good, and chat was very welcoming. So yes, we had a lovely time, although we missed you terribly, and I'm slightly jealous that you're now one episode ahead of me in watching Discovery and its new season.
Think of it this way. I got to watch episodes 1 and 2 last week, yes, but that means I then had to wait. I still am waiting for a new episode because I've already seen the first 2, so now I have to wait longer for episode 3. So yeah, that's what's happening. Although, thankfully, Star Trek Prodigy is still airing actively, and so I have those episodes to tide me over until I get a new episode of Disco.
Yes, I mean, for sure, this is a board game podcast and not a Star Trek podcast. But by now, you should know us, folks. I introduced my kids to Prodigy, the opening pilot double episode, and it's weird. They're sort of resistant to it. Although I know they enjoyed it by the end.
Okay.
So I need to strap them down to the couch and say, all right, we're watching episode 3 now. We're going to see where they go on this adventure, because I think they enjoyed it more than they said they do. I'm getting that, oh, Dad, you like this, so I'm not going to say I like this.
I mean, I was like that when I was a kid with stuff that my dad liked. All I know is that I will protect Rock Talk with my entire self, all of my being. That is the most precious soul. I cannot, and it's so funny because before the show launched, everybody was like, Murph is the thing. And no. I mean, Murph is adorable, don't get me wrong, but Rock Talk is where it's at.
Excellent. Well, we should probably move on to our usual bill of sale here on Dice Tower Tonight by talking about something we played lately. Crystal, since you've been away the longest, I think you get to go first.
Absolutely. And I'm going to make up for lost time by talking about 2 games this evening.
2 games this evening?
2 games this evening, one of which is, you all have heard me talk about the 18-card escape room games from Grand Gamers Guild. There was the Independence Incident and the Christmas one, which the name
Kringle Caper.
The Kringle Caper. Thank you, Eric. Which you and I have played both of those games and enjoyed them, and they came out with a new one this year called The Pumpkin Problem.
I'm jealous. I haven't played this one yet.
Well, I will not be spoiling any of the puzzles or details in this one, but the pumpkin problem, similarly to their previous games, is a seasonal holiday-themed escape room, and the theme of this one is actually really cute. All of the cards, again, these are just the fronts, not the backs, but all of the cards are doors that you would go trick-or-treating at, theoretically. And all of the candy bars in the neighborhood have gone missing, and you're trying to solve the mystery of what happened to all of the candy bars. This one, puzzle-wise, was really enjoyable for the most part. There was at least one puzzle that tripped me and my friend up pretty significantly, and like it wasn't a brute force situation, but we didn't solve it the way I think it was intended to be solved, but similarly to their other games, all of the answers for this puzzle get input into a browser. So when you find the solution to a puzzle, you type it in, and they have a really, really good hint system as part of that browser application. So when we did get stuck, we were able to use hints to help us out. There was just one puzzle where even the hints weren't quite enough to get us there. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the puzzles. They utilize the cards really well. I know that's incredibly generic, and I won't go any further than that just for the sake of spoilers.
Okay.
But I continue to be impressed by how in-depth they're able to get in an escape room situation with just an 18-card deck. It's really quite impressive what they're able to do. And this one did feel different than the others. Like, it didn't feel like I was playing the exact same thing again with a different theming. The puzzles were incredibly different this time around. So I would recommend it. It's from Grand Gamers Guild. You can get it on their website, along with the Independence Incident and the Kringle Caper. So that's the Pumpkin Problem.
Cool.
And then the other game I want to talk about this evening is a brand new game that is coming out from Button Shy Games this Friday, for Black Friday. Unlike a lot of Button Shy's games, which they do through their monthly subscription service or Kickstarter, this one is being released direct to consumers through their website. It's going on sale this Friday. It is a one-player game called Rove. So like all of Button Shy's other titles, it is an 18-card game. It is solo only, although you could very easily play this as a cooperative game with multiple people. There's no reason not to. The game has two different types of cards. You've got module cards, which look a little bit like this, and these get laid out into a 2x3 grid to start the game. Each module has a special power on it, and then when you use that special power, you flip the module over and it has a little different symbol to show that you've already used the power on that card. But you lay them out into a grid, and then you have these mission cards that show, see if I can get it to focus. There we go, a little bit better. That show an arrangement of all of the cards, with one of the cards in particular in a specific area. And similarly to many Button Shy titles, the backs of these cards are entirely different and used for a different purpose. So you have to complete 7 missions to win the game. You start with 5 cards in hand, and the cards in hand will be the backs of these cards that have numbers and little smaller patterns on them. When you get a mission, you have to get all of the cards into that orientation specifically. And the way you do that is by playing cards from your hand to obtain movement points, and then you move the module cards in the grid around until they match the pattern on the mission card. The movement rules are interesting because each module moves a little bit differently. So a movement point, so let's say I played this card out of my hand. This would give me 2 movement points, unless this orientation of cards was already in the display, meaning that the little, Wi-Fi looking symbol card had a card on its top and on its right. If I had that orientation when I play this card, I actually get the larger number, the 4 movement points. So there's a lot of advanced strategy that you can do. You play this card, and then you use your movement points to rearrange the modules. And some of the modules can only move in certain directions. Like this one can only move diagonally, but it can go as far as it wants in any of those directions. This one can move in any direction as far as it wants. But some of them have specific rules. Like this one, instead of going over other modules, it actually pushes other modules with it. This one has to jump over other modules when it moves. So each module moves differently. So you can't just like shuffle the cards around however you want. You have to be very strategic. And I know my lighting just got weird, but I'm like, I'm just in the dark now, even though I'm very brightly lit at the moment. Thanks, Skype. It'll fix itself eventually, maybe. We'll find out. I'll just lean in. It's fine. It's fine. If you are a fan of spatial puzzles, this is awesome. It is also very difficult, at least for me. Maybe you'll find it easier than I did, but I was playing on the easiest setting. The number of cards in hand to start the game determines the difficulty, and I started with the most cards possible, and I still found it ridiculously difficult. But like, the more I played it, the more interesting it got, because like when I first read the rules, I was a little confused about how the modules moved, and then once I figured it out, I was like, this is clever. I tell you what, man, the Button Shy games, this one, I don't typically gravitate towards solo only games, but this one is super fun. I really, really enjoy it. It was designed by Dustin Dobson and Milan Zikovic. And it's coming out this Friday for Black Friday from Button Shy on their website. Obviously, I didn't go over like the special powers and other things like that, but hopefully I gave you all the gist. I really enjoy this one. This feels like a really good one to like bring when you're traveling and you need to kill some time. I mean, any game that comes in a tiny plastic wallet like this, you throw it in your pocket, you've got a game that'll take up a good little while. So
nice.
My lighting still hasn't fixed itself, so
no, I'm not sure what we're doing here.
Well, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna turn the light off, and then I'm gonna turn it back on and see if Skype will readjust.
Skype is saying it's helpful and just sometimes does not want to be helpful.
Yeah, it's being very weird right now with how it's adjusting my lighting in the app. So while you're talking about a game, I might try and fix that.
Sure.
But that was Rove from Button Shy.
It's one that I noticed their tweet. They're doing a Black Friday sale, including Rove, and I think there's an expansion that they're releasing at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. Have you played with that? Okay.
I have not played with it yet,
okay.
But it allows you to refresh the special powers, and now Sterling's barking, so, just
Sterling
another
doesn't
day
like
at
the
Kristen's
lighting
house.
either.
Yeah, he doesn't like the lighting at all. But yeah, I haven't played with these cards yet because I was like, I want to try and get the base game down before I add in the extra stuff. So
very cool. My dilemma with the Button Shies right now is if they're going to be at PAX, that's one of my joys of going to PAX is going to their booth and picking out 2 or 3 new Button Shy games to bring home, and that might be one of them. But they've got this sale going on, and maybe I could just order them all and have them shipped here, because I don't have Agropolis yet. That's one that I would like to pick up, and I think I'm missing an expansion or 2 for Sprawlopolis, another thing that I should probably go for. So
I wonder, I have not looked, but I wonder if they have like a pick up at PAX Unplugged option on their website as part of the sale. I know some publishers do that. So
maybe
could look and see.
I will have to research some more. But onto my game. I have a cooperative adventure to talk about. It's a game called Roll Camera, and I'm actually going to make this all me for a little while, so I can give you some time to fiddle with your settings there, Crystal. So the game's called Roll Camera. The filmmaking board game designer is Malachi Ray Rempin. It's from Keen Bean Studios. I think they're sort of a cartoony style group. They also, related to what Crystal was talking about, are distributed by Grand Gamers Guild. They've got their logo on the back. And they're the ones that made the 18-card Escape series that Crystal was talking about. This is an adorable box that looks like one of the clappers that you'd use on a movie set, and then the game fits inside there. Once you open up that clapper thing, you've got this plastic organizer, which is pretty slick. Oh, Crystal just got bright again. That's always good. That has a lot of room for, looks like expansions, but it's shaped like a film canister. And so that's shoved in there along with the board, which I'll show you now. Don't break it, don't break it, don't break it. This whole thing is very well produced, I feel like. It's got like linen finish on a lot of stuff, the rule book and the cards, and the board even has a nice feel to it. They even include on the back, you can use some of the components as a storyboard making device. You can use it to like actually come up with writing ideas.
Oh, that's fun.
So here's the main board though. You're making a movie. And you're all given roles to do so. And along this side of the board here, you see that star meter. You're going to start out close to the bottom. Your object is by the end to get up in this zone at the... Come on, camera. There we go. In this zone at the end of the game. Or to have it so bad it's good. You know, basically get to the bottom and stay there and be just such a terrible movie that it is quality. Because it's that bad. You're going to do this with dice. You have a let me show off the board first before I break out the dice because I only have so many hands. You've got an area of the set that you're going to put pieces of the set down and assign dice to there to film scenes. You're going to draft those set pieces. You've got storyboard segments that are the scenes you're trying to film. You've got a script that offers endgame bonuses. You've got problems that are going to show up at the top of the board that you can resolve with certain dice combinations. And you've got ideas that you can brainstorm and then play. And now that you've seen all of that, I'm going to put it all away. You're given a roll. Oh, you're also given this neat little dial that is your budget and your timeline for the movie. And this is a nice little feature. You know how you always have to look up? If I'm playing easy mode, what's the initial setup? What's hard? On the back of this, it has the difficulty settings. So if I'm playing normal or easy, I just set the two dials to this, and then I'm all set. Everything is set on the front of the dial. So this keeps track of my schedule, keeps track of my budget. Each turn of the game is going to be one tick on the schedule meter. And as I take actions, that's going to cause the budget to go down. And I'm going to need to manage that by earning more money and earning more time on the schedule. Otherwise, you run out. Because if you run out of either, you're done. You have a role. So this is the editor. There's the director, there's the star of the film, which has special powers, special abilities for manipulating the dice and stuff like that. They also have, because they all have, you know, it's this adorable little tongue-in-cheek presentation here. They all have special, I hesitate to call them special powers. They're fun privileges. So the editor may require other players to start or stop speaking or moving at your command because you're editing the film. Or even worse, you may make other players speak slower, faster, backwards, or in foreign accents. The director, whenever you film a scene as an action, says action whenever a scene is shot. You may request that other players express their emotions more theatrically. So it's two-sided. You choose which privilege you have, which illustration you want to work with. Some of them are less useful. So there was a cinematographer that if somebody takes a picture of the board, you have final approval over that shot. So like, I got to take a picture for Twitter. Hang on. I got to frame that. It's stuff like that doesn't really have a huge game playing aspect to it, but it's if
you're playing with content creators, though.
Yes.
I guess.
So it's a lot of little stuff like that, but you also have a game ability, like the where'd you go? The director can compromise. Oh, this is a cute little thing. You've got die symbols, and if you place a specific type of die in this spot, you can trade $3 for 2 time, or 2 time for 3 quality points, or 3 quality points for 2 time. in some sequence there. And this is related to that old adage about filmmaking, that you can make something cheaply, you can make it fast, or you can make it good. Pick two.
Two of them. Yep, you can't do all three.
Which is a cool little connection to like filmmaking. You've got the scenes. So you start out with a scene that just sort of looks like this, and you have to position the set pieces so that dice can be played in that arrangement. And once that's done, it shows up on the final storyboard as a scene. And you're going to get bonus points if you can put certain types of scenes next to each other. The fun part is, well, okay, so the problems are the ones I found. There's some sort of issue that crops up, and one of these shows up every turn. You can allocate dice to get rid of it, and they sort of pile up on you if you don't do so. Stuff like, the sound person forgot to press record, and you put a blocked token on certain aspects of the board. Or the producer insists on giving their niece a role in the film, so one additional actor is required every time you film a scene, which means one more die that you have to place on the board that's an actor symbol. Until you clear that problem, and then you don't have to do that extra thing anymore. One problem with these is that some of these are performative. So it's not that this action space is blocked, it's that you can't speak until this is cleared. Which is fun on occasion, but if your entire board fills up with that style of thing, at one point, the only person who could talk was the active player. And so my son was about to take an action that was going to lose us the game because it was going to spend all of our budget. And we're like frantically waving at them in order to please. And I ended up saying something like, no, because he was about to do that. And there's a penalty for doing so. And it actually cost us our last point in the game to tell him, no, don't do that. So I'm not sure I like that style of complication card. But there's a ton of theme in here. All these ideas that you can brainstorm that give you special powers. Idea, swap sets with the other film shooting next door while they're asleep. And that gives you some sort of ability or power or game rule breaking sort of thing. Idea, break into your crewmate's trailer. Idea, bring on a night crew of film students to work for free. And that lets you re-roll dice. And you have a production meeting to brainstorm these ideas. It's cute. It is a really cute game that's well put together. Perhaps straying a little silly for my taste. And some of those performative difficulties can stack in ways that make it really hard to progress. I still would like to play it some more and see what we can come up with. But we got a little frustrated when the silence card came up on top of a couple of other of the performance difficulties, and we just didn't have the resources to survive. But it's a neat package, and Roll Camera is worth some playtime.
It's funny, I've heard a lot about this, and I've had friends that have streamed it, and I just had never gotten a chance to really look at it. Fun fact, when I was in college, I actually considered going to film school at one point. And so it kind of sounds up my alley, and with the right group, I do enjoy some of that silliness, so I might have to check it out at some point.
I think you would enjoy it, certainly. The flavor for sure.
All right, Eric. I could have kept things easy tonight. I could have said, let's just play just one again, which we love and chat loves, but I'm bringing a new game that we've never played on Dice Tower tonight before.
Okay, that's always fun.
Yes, and we're going to be modifying the game a little bit because in its normal form, it would not work in this format. So chat has a big responsibility in this game. We are going to be playing a modified version of Trap Words.
Okay.
So for those of you who are not familiar with trap words, it is the part of the game that we're going to be playing is similar to Taboo. And if you're not familiar with Taboo, basically there's a word on a card and you're trying to get somebody else to guess what that word is by saying other things. The thing is, in trap words that's different than Taboo is instead of a list of given words that the game provides that you cannot say when you're describing things, in trap words, the other team comes up with the words that you're not allowed to say, but you don't know what those words are when you're describing. So, as an example, let me pull a card out of the box so I can get chat up to speed. I'm just going to grab a card at random, and we'll say, here, I'll just, like, the bottom word on this card, oh gosh, I'm going to mess up my lighting again, aren't I?
I don't know.
Sticker. So let's say this was the word. Obviously, we're not going to use this one. I would look at the word I would look at the word and I would show it to chat. Chat would see the word sticker. And then chat is going to come up with the trap words, the words that I'm not allowed to say while I'm describing it to you, Eric. But I'm not going to know what those words are. So Eric and I are both going to hide the chat. And chat, you have to you have to moderate yourself.
Putting a lot of trust in the chat here.
We're going to trust you all. And we're going to say the first, you all can kind of determine, but technically you can only have a maximum of 10. So we're going to say the first 10 all caps words that you all put in the chat are the trap words. And if any of them match, they still count. So it's only the first 10. And since we don't have a real-time way to know if we've hit a trap word, instead of our turn ending when we hit a trap word, you all are just going to keep track of how many of your trap words we hit while we were describing the thing. And at the end of the round, when the other person has guessed or given up, we'll see how many trap words we hit, and we're going for a low number, y'all. Does that kind of make sense?
It makes sense to me.
Okay, so chat, basically, you're going to see a word, and then you're going to come up with the words that the clue giver is not allowed to say, but they won't know it. They're just going to be trying to avoid words that they think that you wrote down. So, y'all, you're gonna be on your own, chat. We don't get to help you because one of us is guessing and one of us is giving clue words. 10, I know. Well, it doesn't have to be 10. If y'all only come up with 5, that's fine. You can go easy on us. You know, you don't have to go crazy with it.
And I think you had said that if there are duplicates, then that's just
counts.
one of the 10 words. Yeah,
that still counts. Like you don't get to keep adding to the list until you hit 10.
Yes.
And the game comes with these cool little booklets that each have a different slot in them, like in the placement. So every time you put a card into one of these little books, you don't know which word is going to be visible. So it's neat because it'll allow me to not see what is going on when I'm showing words to Eric. So Eric, I'm going to give clues first. So I'm sliding a card into a booklet now.
So I need to hide chat, and I do not get to see what you're doing.
Correct. I'm about to, I'll actually type the word into the chat because I think that's easier than trying to show it to the camera.
Sure. That way I don't have to hide all of the many images of Crystal I have on the screen at the moment.
Yes. Okay. So I have put the word into chat. So chat, I'm now hiding the chat. You all come up with the words that I'm not allowed to say, and if I say any of them, we'll count those at the end. You all will have to keep track. I'm trusting chat. We'll see what happens. And we'll just go until we feel like you guessed it or not.
Okay, so I can do multiple guesses. I'm not kept
you get a total in the real game. You get a total of 5 guesses. So we'll stick with that.
Let's stick with 5.
So no more than 5 guesses. And I'm going to say that I am starting now. My brain immediately froze because all the words that came to mind.
And I can hear all the clicking of all of the chat. And so all of those are words you can't use. I don't know what they're saying, but I can hear it.
Okay. On a farm, you could obtain the opposite of black, not a solid, but that you would ingest.
Milk.
Yeah! Oh my gosh! I can't believe. Okay, I think I did good.
That was very good.
That felt satisfying. I'm gonna unhide the chat, and obviously it'll take a second for it to catch up. But oh gosh, Amanda threw a whole bunch in there, and I successfully avoided all of those.
You avoided. I mean, you danced around liquid and white.
Yep. Let's see. Did anybody? I saw cow. Okay, I almost said cow. Didn't say cow. Dairy. Yo! I think I did it. I avoided all of them. Did it. Okay. All right.
Well, great. So, now I have to live up to that.
Okay. So I put a word in a booklet, and I'm going to just have to show it to the camera. You'll have to tell me whether it's upside down or not, because the orientation of the words flips depending on the card. So I am not looking at this. You'll have to tell me if it's readable.
It is readable. I have the word. Should I type that into chat as well?
Yeah, go ahead and type it into chat, and I'm going to hide the chat real quick so I don't, and I also need to hide the stream so I don't see that, just in case. I don't want to see myself holding the word up.
And now I'm hiding chat.
Okay.
All right. Let me see here.
This is more fun than I even thought it was going to be, and I'm excited about it.
I should note that I have never played Trap Words. I kept breaking it out and trying looking at the rules, and the whole overlay of dungeon stuff sort of confused me.
The dungeon stuff, honestly, I love CGE, and I love their games, but the dungeon stuff is kind of meh, but this part of the game is very fun.
Okay. When spending time in the room with the refrigerator, creating, one would manipulate this fluffy ingredient.
Eggs?
When perhaps celebrating someone's anniversary of their entering the world, you would create
cake
and use this fluffy
frosting
basic grain derivative.
Yeast? Fluffy grain derivative. I'm sure you're doing a fabulous job, and this is entirely on me. Okay, so I'm allowed to say whatever words I want. No, I'm not. I'm only supposed to just make 5 guesses, and I don't think I'm supposed to talk. Probably. I don't know. I have 1 guess remaining. I've already guessed 4 times. What could it be? So
dusty grain derivative.
What?
Bright.
Okay, so if it's what? It's not.
When spilled, flour is correct.
Oh my gosh. That took me way longer than it should have.
I'm sure I hit something I wasn't supposed to.
Okay, but you needed to get me there, so...
Wheat, black, baking, which I avoided. Bread, powder, I think I avoided. White, cake, kitchen. Yeah, all right. I think we did it.
Coralu, you do make a good point. I think fluffy, my brain went in a different direction.
Yes, fluffy might have been... I was afraid. I was afraid to use other words. I was afraid to use dusty for a while because you often would use a dusting of flour.
Oh yeah. And, okay.
Yep. Woohoo! All right. And good
gosh.
job policing chat. I appreciate the cutting off of words and keeping track.
Rocking.
Of all of
like I don't know why I would be surprised. Of course you all are rocking it, but like anytime I give you all power, I will admit the back of my mind has a tinge of worry. Okay.
Let's do one more round each. What do you think?
Yep, 1 more each sounds great.
All right.
I'm going to put the next word into the chat.
Okay, I am no longer looking at the chat.
So chat, the word is in there. I'm gonna hide the chat. I'm gonna give them a few seconds here so they can theoretically start coming up with stuff. Okay.
The slight panic in your eyes is always...
Yeah, it's because like your brain immediately thinks of all the right words and you can't say any of those. So, okay. We have been on a large boat together. Some spaces that we slept in included a sliding glass thing that could be opened, and you could exit the sleeping space and enjoy air on your
balcony.
Yay!
I was going to say balcony like 30 seconds ago, but then you went to the sliding glass thingy, and I was like, oh, maybe it's door.
Well, no, because I needed to get you to the balcony. And, okay, so let's see what...
Rail upper outside. Did you say outside?
I think I said exit your sleeping area. Deck, lunch, window. I think... y'all! Eric, you and I are good at this. I'm just going to say.
I think we're doing all right.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. All right, Eric, I'm going to give you your last word. Let me get that card out of here.
Jeremiah just says, wow, what the... Okay. I don't know if that was good or bad. Yes, okay, excellent.
Okay.
So I will type the final word is...
Yep, I'm showing it. Is it upside down or is it okay? Are you good?
Yes, I can see it. The one of the letters looks a little weird to me, but I'll talk about that later.
Okay. I'm just going to put it down and I'm going to hide the chat. Oh, gosh. Okay.
All right. Now I got to hide. I am hiding the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, all the words are going to be ones I can't use. All right. If you were to leave the object that you brought up initially out for a while, you would end up with lots of tiny creatures in that object, but beneficial. And perhaps tasty. And
tasty creatures? Okay, sorry, keep going. I'm not, that's not a guess, obviously.
And if one were to add flavors to this combination of creatures and the object you brought up before.
What did I bring up?
Your first word.
I don't remember what it was. That's not helpful at all. What did I say? Okay, you were talking about kitchen stuff. I know I said flour, and I said yeast, and I said...
Oikos makes this.
Yogurt!
Yes. Hopefully, oikos wasn't one of the words.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Brand names is clever.
That actually... I thought Dannon was going to be on the list, so I didn't say that specifically.
Okay.
Sour, stirred, pot, dairy, eat, milk, bacteria. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, okay.
Breakfast.
And when you said tasty creatures, I was very confused. Like,
I was also trying to avoid culture, which would have maybe been closer to get you in the right direction, but
yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, Eric? You know what this means is you and I have a perfect record against chat in this game now. And so when I bring this back next time, chat is going to have to up their game
I think so.
to
They're
get
gonna be
us.
they're gonna be brainstorming words in the off season.
Yep.
There's gonna be a thread on Board Game Geek. Let's
For
come
the
up with some
record,
good
though,
clues.
chat, y'all did spectacular, just like self-moderating. And Amanda, thank you so much for listing the words and making it easy on us. Like, y'all, that was great, and I would love to play that again in the future if you all are up for it. That was really fun to do.
I love how we just, between you and I and the chat, just come up with a game night and let's just do this thing.
Yep.
And we just sort of self-organize, which is great. And sort of brings us into our topic of discussion for this evening. Very impromptu gaming with our family and friends over the holidays, where you may have packed a few things that you hope you can get played if the opportunity arises. It's not really, although I should note that one of my traditional game days has been Black Friday. The Friday after Thanksgiving has been, for the Summerer family, a game day. It's not going to be this year. We're going to do it after Christmas this year. But that has been, let's play games all day. But I digress. Often, after you're done eating a big meal, like you might on Thanksgiving, folks are sitting around like, hey, let's play a game. It's not really a planned thing. It's sort of a, hey, let's do this. And we're talking about stuff that could be successful with that group that happens to be sitting around on the couch. It's not the gamers necessarily. It's the mother-in-law. It's the grandparents. It's folks that aren't usually playing the sorts of games that we tend to surround ourselves with. What works in that circumstance?
Yep. And Coraloo in the chat asks if Americans have to work on Black Friday or if it's a holiday. I mean, obviously it depends depending on where you work, but it is not an official holiday in America. So a lot of companies do not have that day off, but some do. Like I have to work on Friday, for instance. So, but when it comes to games, in casual game groups, I have a question for chat that I want them to answer as we start this discussion. And that is, chat, if you're going to a holiday event, whether it's with family or friends, do you bring games? And I'm not saying like somebody told you to bring games, but like, do you just bring games with you? Because
yes.
I imagine if y'all are anything like me, it doesn't matter what has been discussed in advance. If I'm going to a group gathering of basically any kind, I always bring some games with me, and they come in handy most of the time.
What I usually end up doing is I've got one of the game carrier boxes. It's one of those Dice Tower branded game haul things. So it's about this big. Let me get both hands in the shot here. It's about this big. It can hold a few Ticket to Ride sized boxes in it, and I'll usually throw what fits in there along with me. Because if I'm going to bring one game, I might as well bring 5 and see what's going to work. And so I actually, as part of this discussion, I just grabbed the stack of games I'm planning to bring with me tomorrow when I go to my sister's for Thanksgiving. So,
well, I would love to see all of the games in your stack, Eric.
There we go. I don't want to knock them over and hit things. So a couple of these we mentioned when Ellen was here last week. We talked about So Clover, and we even played it with the chat, as one of those games that is going to fit well with the family. And she talked about 10, the game from AEG, as a good card game that would fit well. Telestrations is at the bottom of the pile. That's one I already know works really well with the family. It's one of my dad's favorites, and my kids really like it. So it's one that's definitely going to see playtime if the situation comes up. Strike, we've already talked about, is a one that anybody can jump into and play. So Clover,
I mean, yeah, you know that I had to grab Strike
sure.
as well. And now that it's back in print, everybody can get
That's
Strike.
right there. That's the new edition that Crystal has, what, 4 copies of?
No, this one, you have the new edition. This one's
Right.
the old edition.
Yes,
yeah.
I was waving mine as the new edition.
Oh, yeah. I
You
have
just can't
6
see.
total copies of Strike. 2 of the old edition and 4 of the new.
And then just one, which everyone here in the show knows. I've got the new Crew ready to go. That's one that's going to be new to my family, so I'm excited to play that. But my family's big on trick-taking games, so they love playing Setback and Euchre and all of that stuff. So the Crew should really work well with them. And the last one on top is Abandon All Artichokes, which has already gone well with the family. They played like 4 or 5 games in a row last time we got together, and so I already know that one's going to be another hit. So I probably have room for maybe one more game to go in that game hall thing. I haven't decided yet what else I want to bring. Maybe I'll let the kids pick something.
There you go. And I think you actually are touching on something there without even realizing it, and that's, depending on what type of gathering you're going to or where the gathering is hosted, sometimes you don't have a lot of space to work with. And so finding games that fit in a small footprint can also be beneficial. To that end, I only grabbed one, but I'd say there are a number of Oink games that would fit the bill for a family gathering. I grabbed Hey Yo, which is a music-based game. Did I show this one off during Dice Tower Tonight? Do you remember?
I don't think I've seen the inside of the box. I may have seen some pictures on Twitter, but I haven't seen...
So like most Oink games, it's pretty compact, and it has one of the most unique components of any board game I own, and that is this little device, which is Hey Yo is a real-time game where you have to lay cards down to a beat, and you're making a beat line. And there's an actual device that makes music, and I'll play just a little bit of it for you. So yeah, it's just got a little button that turns it on and off, and you are laying cards down. It's a cooperative game, or you can do it team-based, where you're laying these little cards down into a line and trying to match symbols. But if you don't play on the downbeat of each measure, you lose cards. And so you play turn by turn, and you'd think, oh, that sounds like a long time before that whistle. But when you're frantically trying to figure out the right card from your hand, it gets frantic quick. This is one of the more unique games, I would say, from Oink. But, Deep Sea Adventure is also really fun. 9 Tiles, Startups. There's a lot of Oink games that I think would work really well for families, and small box benefit.
Yes. That's the coolest little device I've seen since the rule book for Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego that actually sings the theme song.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The one you can get in Target, or at least you could a while back. You opened up the rule book and it had a sensor in it, and it would just go, "Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?" That's all it did. Yeah.
Okay. That's how sad I am as a person, is I desperately now want the rule book to that game.
I sadly let it go. I should have kept it just for the joy of opening up and playing it, but yeah.
I mean, it's funny because you can look up Rockapella on Spotify anytime, but somehow hearing it from a rule book feels special.
I think I came to the same conclusion. Anyway, this is a tangent.
Yep. So another small game that I really like that I don't hear people talk about very often, from Foxmind Games, it's called The Potion, and it comes in a little pill bottle, and it has little acrylic tokens in it, and dice. I'm going to dump out the rule book. And then, it's got little plastic dice and little acrylic tokens of 3 different shapes. I only grabbed mushrooms. And what's neat is everybody holds their tokens in their hand the whole game. And so all you need for a surface area is just a place to roll these 3 dice. So you don't need a lot of table space. Everybody's holding their tokens, and it's kind of a, not social deduction. It's like a bluffing game, I guess, because you put certain tokens into your hand secretly all together, and then you reveal, and based on what tokens other people have in their hands, you theoretically get to drop yours back into the potion bottle. It's really lightweight and easy to learn, but super fun. And I don't ever hear people talk about that one, and I love it because it's, in a tiny little bottle, which always gets people intrigued, like, wait, this is a board game? So that one's neat. So what I did, Eric, is I consider games that are good for family or friend gatherings of non-gamers in, like, when I'm looking at my game collection, I kind of go to 3 different categories of games. Party games is kind of a given.
Sure.
And then light strategy games. So something like, your family likes trick-taking games, so The Crew, in my mind, fits that bill. And then dexterity games is the other one that I think some people kind of forget about. Like, even if you own them, people kind of gravitate toward the party games. And dexterity games can be really, really good with non-hobby gamers. And of course, I put all my dexterity games on the bottom of my pile. But
Sure.
one of my favorites is Catch the Moon,
Yep.
where you're stacking ladders on top of one another. And it's the artwork on the box is gorgeous. And the theme is interesting, too, because when ladders fall off, it makes the moon cry, and you have to take one of her tears. And it like, they're little blue teardrops that you have to take.
Yep.
Another dexterity game that I really, really like, assuming I don't drop the rest of these games onto the floor. Oh gosh, that's tenuous. Is Drop It.
Yep.
So this one, great table presence, looks really neat, it's all set up. You're dropping pieces into a plastic vertical grid and trying to get them to touch or not touch other things. And then the classic Melissa and Doug Suspend has also been really popular for me at family gatherings. Because again, great table presence. The dexterity games are fun because even if people aren't playing, they'll see you playing games like this and they'll go, oh, what is that? I've never seen that before. And it's easy to draw people in with ones that have kind of a neat visual aesthetic to them.
Right. That's also very simple to understand what you're doing. I think the ones I referred before we went on the air to the mother-in-law test. Is it something that I can play with my mother-in-law, who is not in any way a game player, but might be wanting to spend time with the folks around the table? And so is it something that she would be able to pick up without a tremendous amount of explanation at all? Like that Melissa and Doug game, you're stacking your pieces. Pick a piece, stack it. It's very, very simple. And I picked 2 that I'm not planning to bring this weekend, but that fit that bill. Transamerica, the classic route builder.
A good one.
What I love about this is that you play a round and then you reset and you play another round basically the exact same way. So you get your 5 cities and you're moving your train sticks around the board and spreading them out, and then somebody wins the round and you total how far away everybody was from completing their goals, and then you score points and reset with another round, new cards, new destinations, everything, and go again. So that the mother-in-law, who may not have fully grasped it in the first round, now goes, oh, okay, all right, I think I got this now, and they're off and running. And so that really helps. If you're going to bring something that is a more traditional board game, having that aspect is really helpful. And the other one that has always been a hit with the family is Cartagena. Having some sort of connection to a game that people know, like Candyland, makes Cartagena really easy to grasp, because you play a card and you go to the next instance that's free of that symbol, but then it adds the twist of how do you draw the cards. And that's the moving backwards on the track and joining up with the only tricky part with Cartagena is if a space has 3 pirates on it, you go past that space, and so people get a little confused and don't necessarily know when a space is full or not. But it's a minor quibble, and I think this one passes the mother-in-law test as well.
Oh, for sure. I grabbed a few other games off of my shelf that, like, I think, there are some classic party games that we're not discussing here. We've talked about party games on the show before. And so obviously things like Codenames or Wavelength, work really well. Most party games of that style tend to work well, I think, in group settings. But I wanted to grab some games that maybe people don't think about, like, right off the bat. I actually have found great luck with New York Slice. While if you just said, oh, it's I cut, you choose, but like non-gamers will have no idea what that means. But it's really easy to lay out a pizza and say, you have to split this up based on the number of players, and you score based on pepperoni. Like even though it's really simple at its core, and so the mechanisms don't really like matter in name when you're playing something with this kind of an aesthetic.
But
So that one
everybody
works
has
well.
had to do that sort of activity before. You've been in that situation where you have to cut this piece of cake into 3 pieces, but you don't get to choose.
Yep.
I'm the one that's slicing, and the little brother gets to choose the piece first. So you got to make it as even as possible, or you're going to miss out.
Yep, exactly. And then I think a lot of people would probably think of Dixit as a really good family game, which it is. I actually like to step it up a notch, and instead of Dixit, I like to bring Muse, which adds the extra twist of the way you give clues in Muse is different depending on what card gets drawn. So instead of just giving a word or a sentence as a clue like you do in Dixit, in Muse, the card might say, you have to act out something without speaking, or you have to whistle a tune, and then some people have to guess what card you played based on that. And the cards do look very Dixit-like.
Sure.
All kind of just like not abstract, but like weird illustrations of random items and objects. But that extra twist of how you give the clues, I think, puts Muse a little bit ahead of Dixit for me at this point. And then 2 games that I think we've talked about on the show recently, or we've played Monstrosity recently.
Yes, we did.
I think this one's a good one. And then Stay Cool, the multitasking game. Man, this one, this is a hit with everybody I've shown it to lately. I really like Stay Cool a lot.
Next time we have a triple chair, we need to play Stay Cool.
Oh my
because you have to
gosh.
have 2 people yelling at you at the same time. That is an intense game. I've considered purchasing that one a few times. I don't know how my family would handle it. I have some relatives. So the danger with some of these, and this is getting into some of the performance style party games, where take these cards and come up with a sales pitch, or you have to, well, like you said with the Muse cards, you have to sing your clue, or you have to do something special. Sometimes people can freeze up with that style. We tried to play, I don't even remember what it was. It was like Nano-Fictionary, or one of these storytelling style where you have to come up with something or write a poem. Some party games are that structure, and depending on how game your group is going to be with those, you might end up with someone who, this is the worst thing ever. I wish I wasn't even sitting here because I can't come up with anything. And suddenly it's time to reveal, and you're just like, I got nothing. I quit. That is not the feeling that you want. And so you have to be careful with some of those performance style games. And Stay Cool, while it's fun to watch the person struggle, that is part of the joy, is seeing that, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
If someone is going to respond and not enjoy that feeling, it can be, there's a bit of a caution flag on that one.
Absolutely. And I think, as ambassadors of this hobby that we love, I think if you are going to bring games to a gathering where games weren't specifically requested, as much as you want to play games, you also have to be very cognizant of the other people in the situation. What I tend to do is find at least one person who's interested in playing games, which is not usually that hard to do. We sit down at a table, and then kind of let people come to us. We'll play this 2 players. Oh, no, we'll play with 3. Oh, yeah, we'll play with 4.
Yeah.
And then people kind of come in, and also being willing. We've talked about this on the show, but at least for me personally, I sometimes find it hard to quit a game mid-game because I want to finish the thing. But you have to be aware, is everybody actually having fun right now? Or is everybody distracted by the turkey in the oven and their cell phone and the kids? And if people aren't actively enjoying the game for whatever reason, whether it's the game's fault or other things, sometimes you have to just call it and say, you know what? We had fun. We're good. We're going to put it back in the box now. And I struggle with that moment, but I've been getting better at that over the years.
It is tricky, and one aspect of some of these games that can work very well is if someone can jump in or jump out easily. If it's not going to break the game, if somebody is not enjoying themselves and like, okay, you guys keep playing, I'm just going to watch.
Yep.
I'm still enjoying being with you. I just don't need to participate right now. Or someone hovers and says, "Oh, this looks fun. Oh, you started already? Oh, no, come on, sit down, play. Have a go." Roll for It is a game that it can play up to, if you have both sets. I'm talking about the 2 small sets, not the deluxe version. You could play up to 8 players. We don't usually have 8 players to start the game, but someone can sit down and you're like, jump in, because it's entirely possible that many of the other players don't have many points yet either, and so you can just jump into the game. It doesn't really hurt anything to add a player in the middle of it.
And no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I got
Well,
stuck.
so you have Just One in your pile, and Just One has become a staple for me as well. And I'm going to give everybody a little tip that I have discovered, I guess. So I own 2 copies of Just One, and I put all of the components except for the extra deck of cards into a single box. They all fit, all the markers, all the marker boards fit in a single box with a single deck of cards. And I have found the player count does not matter at all. Like, because at certain points I've played just 2, where you have to guess 2 words, but I've actually discovered after the fact, you can play Just One with basically as many people as you want. And I'm sure the balance gets off to some degree, but more clues doesn't necessarily mean more words, because there are often more matches as well. And what's interesting is, like, even if you have, like, there's 6 or 7 marker boards in the original game, so I can have up to like 12 people at least. And like, if everybody writes down a different word, you'd think, okay, the game will be too easy. It isn't always. In fact, sometimes having more words makes it more confusing, because you've got, Uncle Joe over there who put down a word that doesn't make any sense with the rest of the words, and now you're trying to figure out how Uncle Joe's word fits in with the whole thing. I actually have had great fun playing Just One with well more than the intended player count. So if you have a large family, buy an extra copy and just go for it. I highly recommend.
I should give that a whirl. I only have the 1, but you could, if you take the insert out, you could easily fit a second set of markers and boards in there. And color doesn't really matter.
Yeah, color doesn't mean anything. Yep. And so now, if somebody's favorite color is red, you got 2 of them, and so you can divvy them up.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's see. We should probably wrap things up as far as the discussion goes. Lots of great other suggestions flying by in the chat. One I Dream is one that I played with the family at one point. The Climbers with the dexterity element. Carcassonne is another classic that is pretty simple to understand. The farmers can get a little wacky, but I've heard people just don't play with the farmers sometimes, and that works real well. Camel Up, Deep Sea Adventure.
Ink and Gold, that's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you've got your, like, small card games, like, kind of the classics, No Thanks and For Sale and Illusion. Like, those are games that I always have in my quiver. And so it's funny, I sometimes think about or forget about them until I'm, like, digging through my quiver. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, all of these are in here, too.
Oh, here's a suggestion. Just use your Telestrations markers and books to buff out Just One.
That's not a bad idea at all. You've already got the deck of cards.
I'm bringing it. There we go. I got my second. Thank you so much. That's an excellent suggestion.
That was wonderful. Yeah, it's not like you're not supporting the publisher. You already bought the 1 copy of Just One, so that's great. Well, chat, thank you so much for all of your suggestions, and I hope that we have maybe given you at least 1 or 2 games that maybe you hadn't thought of for your holiday gatherings this year that you can grab off your shelf or pick up at your friendly local game store. Eric and I will hang out here for just a few more minutes, so if you all have any questions for us, feel free to drop them in the chat right now. And then, Eric, you and I need to kind of at least, like,
we need to hash something out. We realized with, like, 2 minutes before we went live, we're like, hey, let's look at the calendar real quick and see what are we doing in 2 weeks. And Crystal realized you're, like, on a plane to PAX in 2 weeks.
Yep, I'm flying out of Vegas at like 1 something p.m. and then obviously because of the time change, I get into Philadelphia literally at like 9:10 p.m., which would be 10 minutes after our usual show start time. And as much as I would love to say that the flights will all be brilliantly on time and I could theoretically get on my phone on Skype and join you for the show, 15 minutes late, I'm guessing that's probably not going to happen.
I don't know if that's going to work. Why don't we? Why don't we just meet up here next week? What do you think?
3 weeks of Dice Tower Tonight in a row?
I don't know if we can handle this, but
I mean,
hey,
yeah.
We're going to mess with the schedule. We might as well keep messing with it. So then we can come back in a week, and why don't we talk about what we're excited about to do at PAX? Because we'll be a week away. You and I get to see each other in person for the first time in forever.
Yeah, like 2 years. I get to see, getting to just talk about what I'm excited about at a convention is so exciting for me. And I do want to preface all of my excitement with, I recognize that not everybody can or is able or is comfortable with attending big group gatherings at this point, and that is completely valid and okay. And I've been in that space for a really long time, and PAX has a lot of really strict safety requirements that have made it so I feel comfortable going. But if you are not in that space yet, that is okay. And I recognize that us talking about a convention can sometimes, trigger a little bit of FOMO in people. And we obviously don't want to make anybody feel bad for missing out. So I hope that we can just help you enjoy our joy a little bit about us getting to see each other again and go back out to a convention.
Yeah.
But no judgment for people who are like, I'm not ready to be in a crowd yet, because trust me, I get it.
Yes. Well, let's meet up in a week and do it again.
Yep. So we'll be back here next week, but let's see. Does chat have any questions?
No, they're just excited about PAX and seeing us next week, I think.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Oh, Tommy Miller asks, have either of you watched Cowboy Bebop? I have not seen the original or the new one. I'm very Bebopless.
Yeah, and I've seen, I think, an episode of the original anime, and I watched the when they were promoting it, the intro sequence with the same theme song for the Netflix series, but I have not sat down to watch that one. It's one of many things that I would like to watch on streaming right now, not the least of which is Hawkeye, which premieres tonight, and several episodes of Prodigy I haven't watched yet. There's a lot that I think I've got Doctor Who that I'm behind on. There's a bunch of things.
Oh, I'm so far behind on Doctor Who. Oh, I need to catch up. We are truly in an age of great television, and that is wonderful until you realize you can't watch it all.
No. I'm currently watching The Morning Show. That's one that I just got into. It is a compelling show, very well done so far, but it's not a happy show. So
I don't know if I ever told you. Did I tell you that I did end up watching Schmigadoon?
Oh, did you?
I did.
Yes.
Yes, because I had watched Ted Lasso and you had watched Schmigadoon, and we were gonna flip flop at some point. And I did watch Schmigadoon and I loved it. So.
It was a lot of fun. I picked up several items from the soundtrack, so I've got Tribulation that I can listen to whenever I want. That one's a great one, and. And I really did. Yes, and Corn Pudding, I got that one too. Really enjoyed Ted Lasso as well. So now I'm up to date on that one. Can't wait.
In Animal Crossing, for those who don't play, you can teach your villagers catchphrases, and one of my villagers currently is running around saying Roy Kent because I like Ted Lasso so much. And somebody came and visited my island who knows Ted Lasso, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, your villager said Roy Kent to me."
That's
so
excellent.
That was fun.
That's excellent.
All right, let's see. Okay, we'll do one more question from Coralu, and then we'll wrap things up. Coralu says, will we be doing a list of games that bring out the Christmas feels? I don't know is the answer to that question. I don't know if I would come, games don't tend to evoke Christmas for me. So maybe that might be a more difficult list to come up with.
That's tough, and there aren't that many Christmas-themed games. We were trying to come up with a few. There's a handful. There's a Santa's Workshop game. There's the Kringle Caper, or the Kringle Incident. That's what it's called. That's what.
No, it's Kringle Caper. You're right.
The Kringle Caper.
You're talking about the escape room.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a few others floating around, but not many. Not as many as you'd think. Oh, there's a Home Alone game that looks like a Christmas sweater.
So yeah, not a ton of Christmas games,
Yeah,
but
think about
or
that.
holiday games in general.
It's more just the feeling of getting together. Similar titles to what we were talking about tonight are the ones that put me in that Christmas specific mood of getting together with family and playing things.
For sure. All right, friends. Well, it is 10 after the hour, so we're going to wrap things up here. Again, stay tuned throughout the next month and a half because we will likely potentially be modifying our schedule as needed with travel and whatnot. Like, I'm looking ahead, and we're gonna do it on the 1st, not the 8th. The 22nd. No, I fly out on the 23rd to go to Kansas City. So 22nd would technically. Well, you know what? Just stay tuned, everybody.
We're gonna go one episode at a time for a little bit.
If you're following either Eric or I on Twitter, you'll see when we're gonna hang out here. But for guaranteed, we will be back in 1 week on December 1st, my birthday month.
Woohoo!
Sagittarius season, baby. So join us again right here on the Dice Tower, December 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Before you leave, make sure you click the little thumbs up button below the video, please, to help the YouTube algorithms know to show this video to your friends and to you in the future. But until next time, I'm Crystal Dax.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 1 week for another installment in December. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Cannaday, Chris Yee, and Rob Searing. Deities who really want the job between the ladies dancing and the pipers piping provided by Leaping Gods. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by GameNerds.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. You can hear more from Crystal on the Board Game Blitz podcast, and I can be found giving Tom a hard time on the Dice Tower. Find those shows and more at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming! Good night, everybody!
Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in America!
Happy Thanksgiving!